for having it. All men and women created by it. So you know the thing.
Walked in this place and said, wow, this is a huge dome. Bozeman's got it all right.
Stage 2.
Go.
Flight directors, go for launch. We have liftoff.
Vehicles pitching downrange. Execute. Vehicle supersonic. State separation.
You guys know what this represents? Maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storming?
Could be the calm before the storm. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Give us a hint on your answer.
Thank you, everybody.
I think the president of Colombia found out what storm today. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Just Our Take episode number 84. I am your host, John, and this is my co-host, Dave. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great. Howdy. Good evening. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Just Our Take. As the title implies, this little back and forth between me and John is just our opinion. You may agree, you may disagree, and that's okay. If you do, if you feel like we're wrong, throw it in the comments. We're not too proud to learn from you if we miss something, but at the end of the day, this is just our opinion. John, as I was looking back over the last couple of days, I'm thinking, what are people going to care about the most? What do I think? What am I most interested in? And it just feels like a barrage, and in a good way, by the way. I'm enjoying the barrage of change.
Yeah,
and
it's been hitting us hard and heavy and from every direction. I do want to add one thing. It is just our opinion, but we try to research our opinion with facts and backing. And one thing that is a fact, America is back. Yes, indeed, America is back. That's right. That's right. Love the storm. This is a storm. I mean,
We're in it.
this wasn't
We're-
meant to be the storm. This is the storm.
Yeah.
Sorry, there was some background noise there. If this isn't the storm, then boy, I can't wait till the storm comes because man, oh man, is it happening fast and furious.
Yeah, and I would say, before I was thinking, oh, I know there's going to just be an outrage and protest and something really, really bad and really evil is going to happen. And I don't know, I knocking on wood here somewhere that still doesn't happen. But I feel like the storm is everything that is happening with the different secretaries being confirmed, and like Christy Noem. Of course, we know about Hegseth already. We know that we have a new Treasury Secretary due up Monday. I mean, it's just fast and furious. And then I know you've got some notes in here, so I won't get too far ahead, but finding missing kids and kicking the bad criminals out and reshaping our economic policy. I watched one interview today just for a couple minutes where JD Vance, you probably saw this interview. He's being asked, why isn't the cost of bacon down already? You guys promised it. It's 4 days in. I expected bacon to be cheaper by now. And
Yeah, well, the thing is they keep on messing themselves up because they said that Biden was giving Donald Trump the best economy in history.
yeah,
And yet they're complaining about the price of eggs and bacon. So
Yeah.
which is it? You guys are a little schizo right there. Here's what's going on down in Dallas right now. Not that, Dallas is the barometer, but Dallas right now is.
we're right here. Right here.
Okay, so pardon the language.
What are they protesting? Are they protesting deportation?
These folks are down there blocking ICE from getting into the city, and they're protesting the ICE deportations as they're waving Mexican flags saying, we want to stay in America. Let that sink in.
Yeah. Pick a lane.
I mean, come on, you guys. You know what? The education system has failed them, among other things.
It's failed us too, because it's failed them.
Yeah. So anyway, ICE, the main cities you would imagine, ICE has been in Los Angeles, San Francisco, some in Seattle, not that much. Chicago is definitely getting their share of ICE raids. And they have been in parts of Minnesota, but mostly in the deepest, bluest blue states and some of those bluest cities within the blue states. So it's kind of exactly where you would expect them to be, right?
Even Holman's taken part in some of these arrests because it uses a word that is banned from YouTube, rhymes with grape. We can't show it or even play it because I don't want bad things to happen with YouTube. Not being censored or anything, but he took part. He participated in an arrest today of a person who was allegedly committed something to do with words that rhyme with grapes. And I can imagine how satisfying that is. You're here, you came here illegally, you've committed a heinous crime, and I get to arrest you personally to make a point.
Here's another gentleman that was expressing his anguish with having to be deported.
Oh yeah.
Going back to Haiti. One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
How many?
17. Get out of here. That's quite the number.
Joe Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
ICE Boston quickly takes down its next targets, including this illegal alien from Brazil who has an Interpol red notice for armed robbery. This Salvadoran illegal alien charged locally with rape and released by a sanctuary jurisdiction.
Señor, ¿cómo se llama?
And this Dominican illegal alien charged with assault with a deadly weapon and heroin trafficking. Officers also arrested this Guatemalan MS-13 gang member facing gun charges. ICE says he was released from local custody just the day before. Their detainer request was ignored because of sanctuary policies. And in a sign of shifting priorities with the new Trump administration, this man, who was in the same apartment as the target, was also arrested after ICE determined he's also in the U.S. illegally. This is what ICE calls collateral.
So you guys got your main target just now, but you got somebody else. What just happened?
So our main target was released by a sanctuary jurisdiction, not honoring a detainer. That person was released back to the community, and when we went to find him, he's with somebody else who was previously removed from the United States. So he's going to go today too.
And that is exactly what Border Czar Tom Homan has warned would happen.
When we find the bad guy, he's probably with others that are in the United States illegally. They may not be a criminal priority, but we're not walking away from them.
ICE Boston says they will continue to go into sanctuary jurisdictions and do their job.
Today was a good day. Today we took several significant public safety threats out of our communities. Unfortunately, a lot were released by sanctuary policies, but we're here to tell the Commonwealth and the rest of the country that we're going to find them whether they're released or not.
Wow.
There you have it.
And guys, shortly after we finished filming, ICE Boston told us they arrested 2 more targets in other parts of town away from our cameras. One of those targets is a previously deported Honduran illegal alien who was arrested for raping a woman while putting a gun in her mouth. The other target they got is a Haitian man who first flew into the United States in 2023 as part of President Biden's controversial migrant flights mass parole program. Well, they just picked him up yesterday because he's been arrested locally for sexual assault. We'll send it back to you.
Bill Mallusion, it was fast.
So there you go.
That clip because it used all the words. I'm like, I can't play that one. I can't play that one. That clip had all of them.
But then here you go. Hang on. Hang on.
Oh, wait. There's before you play this next one.
No, you got to see it. The cavalry's on the way.
Hey, real guns.
Sorry about the extra loud volume, but I had to make it real for you.
John, those look like real guns.
Yeah, real guns with real bullets.
With real bullets. That's not the same thing as what we saw before. Okay, what I was going to ask. Okay, who in the administration and it's Boston, I think, is that community, who goes to jail for knowingly not releasing somebody who's here illegally, knowingly releasing them and not referring them to ICE? Who goes to jail?
So that's not against the law. That's not against the law. What is against the law is, and by the way, they could be held civilly liable for that. But what is against the law is withholding those people or harboring them. So if they were to take them out the back door and put them in some sort of a sanctuary apartment complex or hotel or whatever, that indeed would be against the law. And then those people could be held criminally liable, regardless of their position within the government.
Okay, so disappointed. But we do got to follow the law. So, okay, thank you for that. I just thinking, well, maybe they didn't know he was here illegally, but if they did and they didn't refer him to ICE, like, I don't know, I guess maybe it's not illegal. It should be. I have to say, what a difference, right? So instead of people saying, we support this, or we're frustrated, we don't know what to do. We're frustrated, nothing changes. We're frustrated, we can't do anything. This person was just released and here's what they did. Instead, it's the opposite. She said it, it's a good day. We're getting these people off our streets. And there is some collateral I didn't want to say damage, but there's some, there's collateral damage, right? The other person that was there, but on the other hand, that other person knows who was hanging out with him as an apartment. He knew what the person had done, and he was like, you know what, that's fine. Come hang out with me.
And they were here illegally. I'm going to show you something that you may or may not remember. One of our favorites, if we go way back into the Wayback Machine.
We need some music for that.
Here you go.
If they committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked, they're gone. If they've been working and are law abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes, and you have to try to learn English, and you have to wait in line.
So
that's bigoted. That's so bigoted. Making them learn English, paying taxes. Who does she think she is?
Yeah, well, in case you forgot that she wasn't the only one that did this. These people, I saw something that was actually quite funny the other day. Somebody came out, it was like Washington Post or WAPO, whatever, one of those guys. And they came out and they said, oh no, it's not going to let me do it. What? You've got to be kidding me.
Uh-oh.
Maybe it is. Sorry. I just have to start it over again. What a bummer. Anyway, it may be one of those things where it was a video and they were talking about how long it's going to take to deport these people. They said, that there's 21 million people here. And they said to deport 1 million people, it would take at least 45 years. 45 years to deport 1 million people. Well,
how do we get 11 million in 4 years? If it's
it gets better than that. It gets better than that. So
good question on the screen. Just come back to that question when you get a chance.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I've got to let this thing play out because it's really good. You got to see it. Here you go. Let's go here and see what he has to say about these things.
Illegal immigrants being deported by the new administration, would you find objectionable? Mr. Melnick, I'll ask you, 1 million?
I think 1 million would be a disaster.
2 million?
I think that is enough that would have severe negative ramifications.
I'm not reading what Trump intends to do. I'm reading exactly what President Barack Obama did. Yeah. So you said President Obama was immoral and inappropriate to deport those 1 million people. Is that what I heard you say?
There were many people that were deported
yes,
under his administration that should not have been. Yes.
Look, I would really appreciate it to say, if you would go out on social media and say that the President Obama did a horrible disservice to those people he deported, and he's as wrong-minded as every other Republican who said we've got to secure the border, deport people, because you can't have one being okay and the other one not being okay.
How about that? How many would be deplorable? How many would be horrible? How many? Oh, 1 million. Oh, that would be horrible. Well, it was 3 million that Obama got rid of, and it didn't take him 55 years to do it. So, which was the question, David? Was it the
what happened to the mayor of Boston? It was from Alice. Did the mayor of Boston say something about not allowing ICE in?
Yeah, they did. They did say something. When it all comes down to it, you're not going to block ICE. It's a federal agency. You're not going to keep them from coming into your town. However, if you again harbor those people, if you keep them from being arrested by ICE, then it's a different story. You will get wrapped up with it. And by the way, Holman and everybody else up and down the chain have all said that it's absolutely going to happen. You get in the way, you will find yourself in handcuffs as well.
Yeah, I am eagerly awaiting the first mayor, the first governor, the first representative. Maybe it'll be Schumer. I don't know. I can't wait to see the first public official who ends up getting arrested because they are harboring criminals. I'm not talking about kindergartners or how I feel about some of the people that got wrapped up in all this, but like there's a lot of hardcore criminals that ICE is going after right now, and you protect those people who have committed crimes here. you're going to protect them.
Well, they said that they were sending ICE into high schools and grade schools, which turned out to be a total lie. However, when they asked Holman about it, they said, well, if we have to go in there and get an MS-13 member, we will. And they said, why would you be going to a high school to get an MS-13 member? He says, there are thousands of MS-13 members that are 13 and 14 years old here in the U.S. today. But most likely, they're probably not in school. I'm just guessing.
But if they are in school, we'll go there and get them. Yeah, that story was debunked today. It flared up. Oh, they're raiding schools now. Children are going to be in handcuffs, and then it would die down pretty quick.
So here's something from, oh gosh, what's his name? Greg Jarrett from Fox News. He's talking about birthright citizenship.
All right. Birthright citizenship. The president says he signed an executive order getting rid of it. So if your parents are here illegally and they give birth to a kid, that kid is an American if that kid is born here. He wants to end that, and he signed an EO to do that. Has he done that?
Well, the EO orders it done, and almost immediately he was sued. And so this will be tested in the court. Look, it's an uphill battle. 14th Amendment gives citizenships to people who are born here and subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. That's the phrase that Trump is going to test, arguing this is not what the framers intended. People here illegally and fraudulently are not necessarily subject to the jurisdiction and the laws of the United States because they shouldn't be here in the first place. So they shouldn't receive the benefit and government welfare, taxpayer-funded health care, passports, social security numbers. They should be removed. I do think it's an uphill battle because the Supreme Court in the past has been pretty clear that if you're born in the United States, regardless of your circumstance, you're a citizen.
Our founding fathers are looking to fill out the country. We wanted people for any way, shape, or form, and we have a different mindset now.
But
that's not exactly that's not exactly the reason for it. The reason for it was to give the children of slaves citizenship, and this has been documented very clearly by the original framers and the people who wrote the 14th Amendment. Mark Levin, if you guys have a chance, I will try to find a link for it and put it on our X, and we also have a Facebook page, Just Our Take on Facebook. So I'll try to put the link on there to that. But Mark Levin does a great job of bringing up the original text of the original arguments on the floor of the House when the 14th Amendment was being brought forth and voted on.
Yeah, and by the way, that last statement that he made, it's not the intent that we do. I know this is a broken record. It's not the intent that we don't want people to immigrate here or to move here. That's not the case at all. It's just just like every country in the world, they want to know that the people coming to their country are there for all the right reasons, all the good reasons, and they're going to be, a good, a productive, and peaceful member of society, want to help move us forward, and not the folks that are bringing in the drugs and trafficking people. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, if your goal here is to do harm to our country, we don't want you in. That's every country has the right to say that, and they do say that. I don't know why it's such a difficult concept, but there are lots of really just phenomenal humans in this world that want to be here. There should be a process for them to get here, and if they so desire, then great. And if you want to argue that our current system is broken, okay, you're probably right. You probably have a good argument. So hopefully our current administration addresses that process and makes it work more smoothly. But in the meantime, I'm so glad to see these violent criminals being evicted. It's awesome.
Look, I think that, like I said, when we have El on here and he talks about the process he had to go through to get here, and we talk about my good friend's next door neighbor in the process, she had 20 years it took her to get to her citizenship. If there's one person that hates illegal aliens more than her, you'd be hard pressed to find it. She's very vehement against the illegal process. Now, I will agree, it shouldn't take 20 years. That is absolutely ludicrous that it took her 20 years, and that part's got to be fixed. I want to talk about one more piece here. It's kind of fun. It's some good news, but it comes from Alex Jones, and we all know Alex is just a firebrand here.
Put your money where your mouth is and get great products at the same time.
Sorry, it's a
at
commercial.
AlexJones.com and legal donations at fireproducts.com. Humbly ask for your support.
Alex, what are you
It's happening
saying?
now. Most important work ever. Thank you so much for your support. Now the ball's in your court. It's up to you.
I think
You
he's
make
been
the
working
decision.
out.
I'm in your hands and you're in my hands. And if you don't understand how real we are and our
I
proven
don't.
track record, and if you
Sorry.
don't decide to take action and support us, you are fucking stupid.
Hey!
I salute you.
Come on, Alex. You're fired.
Dude, that was just plain old uncalled for. Sorry.
Oh, man.
You know what we stand for, and it's not that garbage. Okay, but he does have a story I wanted you to hear. I'm sorry, I didn't know that commercial was going to come up beforehand. So here we go.
The Alex Jones Network is tomorrow's news today.
Okay.
Come on, Alex. Get to the point without your F-bombs this time.
Let me just tell you, I think Alex Jones, because this guy, man, let me tell you, Alex Jones, that guy's connected. I think he just hijacked the link that I had that talked about the 75,000 children that were found by the Trump administration in doing their raids. They found 75,000 of the 320,000 missing children. And that's pretty doggone exciting. Next time we don't go to Alex. Alex, you will never get a place on the Just Our Take show again.
I have a Fox News report on it. Hey, this one is probably not as interesting as Alex Jones, but it does get the point across.
Now, the second wave that Tom Home and the borders are for Trump has told me about in all of this will focus on those missing children, hundreds of thousands of them that we know. And that number has started to already come down, Emily, from 300,000. So they found about 75 to 80,000 of those kids already. If they can get the list of these guys, 4 full days in office for Trump, if they can get the list of where some of those kids have been, and they've been identifying it, since the election, going after them and trying to find those little ones, what in the world was Biden's administration doing? What was Secretary of Homeland Mayorkas doing when he said to the committees on Capitol Hill, we don't know where those kids are, I'll look into it? No, dude, you obviously had a better way to find them, and you didn't do your job. I can't believe they impeached him and didn't remove him. Now, the second way.
I can't believe it either. The guy, how many times in Congress? We don't know where they are. It's our highest priority after taking a nap and shooting some golf today.
Yeah. I get angry when I hear about these things.
Yeah,
there is no excuse for incompetence. And then when you add children to the mix, there's absolutely no excuse. And you need to pay a price.
I agree. I mean, these are the innocent of the innocents. I think there's so many innocent people that have gotten wrapped up in this entire ordeal, but for sure, these children, how incredibly gross is that? And the fact that that guy is still today, at least up until now, walking around as a free man, hopefully that changes. I hope it changes.
All right. We were going to talk about Trump's visit to Los Angeles.
Before Colombia.
Well, hold on. You guys have seen that. You guys have seen all of that news. You've seen the clips. If we can't add something to it, we're not going to. I don't think that showing Karen Bass getting her bass handed to her, like the way I did that, by Donald Trump.
The microphone taken away.
I mean, the guy physically took the microphone.
No more. You lose.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. There is an IQ requirement.
Oh my God.
President. But anyway, I think both Karen Bass and the governor, I won't even use the name.
Its name is Newscom. Yeah, you get used to it.
The bottom line is those two people are the least competent people on the planet, and I think that their days are numbered. in office. I think that I think that Karen Bass is probably, if she's lucky, she'll last another 30 days. The bouncing ball of how many more days, these people want to go home. They want to go sift through their belongings and in the ash, because you guys were so incompetent. They want to go sift through the ashes to find their belongings. It's going to be 6 months. 6 months? Why 6 months? 30 days. Why 30 days? Why not tomorrow? Okay, tomorrow.
And here's a funny thing. I know that this has been played, but my take, having worked in the corporate world for a long time, there are times when this is my plan. I'm executing my plan. I have my reasons for my plan. There's a senior leader in the room who's saying to me, your plan is bad. You need to do something different. And look, the younger me would still argue with the senior leader in the room with all the other people in the room. The slightly more mature version of me now goes, okay, no matter how convicted I am with my plan, clearly something's flawed, because my senior leader is saying, I disagree, you need to do something different. Now I need to acknowledge that, shut my mouth, take notes, and go back and figure out a different strategy. But continuing to fight it, it's a losing bat. You cannot win.
And shut the pie hole and listen to what he's saying and read the room. You are not in charge. He is. And he's got a great big giant microphone these days. So,
And momentum.
All right. So Trump also, before he went out, you wanted to talk about Colombia real quick.
Oh, just a quick hit, right? So I can't remember how many people were on that plane headed back to Colombia. And the president of Colombia, what is his name? Gustavo Petro says, nope, we're not taking them. And Trump immediately says, all right, you are taking them. If you don't take them, and then he lists out, I could read it, but I won't for tonight's sake.
25% tariff immediately. And in 2 weeks, that goes to 50%, as well as other penalties. Bottom line is it's going to hurt.
Oh, yeah. Super painful. To which AOC immediately said, oh, my God, America, your coffee's going to be more expensive. He's punishing Americans. Anyways, Gustavo immediately recognized that, this is, he's not going to win this one. And he gave in. And of course, now he's going to help. He's going to meet his repatriated people and pick them up in his own plane and bring them back the rest of the way. But
that's right.
It's happening. Like it or not, it's happening.
Took him 1 hour to come to his senses. How
That's
about
right.
that? Let me just bring up. So then after, or actually it was before Donald Trump went out to Los Angeles, he stopped by North Carolina. Finally, somebody went out there. He was out there before he was president.
That's right.
But finally, somebody with some horsepower shows up in North Carolina. One of his first official trips, and the first stop is North Carolina. I have to tell you, he's just the guy. That's all I'm going to say.
People, 104 people lost their lives. 73,000 homes were severely damaged or destroyed. And I'll tell you, I've been to a lot of them, and this was like lots of hurricanes in one. I've never seen such damage done by water. And the water came, it was violent, and it left, and there was like nothing left. It's really pretty amazing. We're working on it very hard, and I think if Michael Whatley does half as good a job for North Carolina as he did for my campaign, we'll be very happy. Him and Laura were a very powerful team. So you think you can handle it, Michael? I don't know. I'm not sure, Michael. I think this is maybe in many ways easier, okay? Maybe easier. But you're going to lead the team. You want to say who the congressmen are that you want to appoint? Do you want to introduce them?
So he goes on, and again, he just was there and was making things happen. Let me show you what he made happen. How about this?
If you ever want to know why I voted for Donald Trump, take a look at Western North Carolina. In 4 months, our past administration couldn't do anything for these people for the hurricane that hit them on September 24th of 2024 this year. These people lost their homes. They lost their cars, their stores. There was no Walmart store and replacing. There was no Lowe's to go and get tools at. They lost their family. They lost everything in this flood. It took everything from them. It wiped out entire towns. And our past administration had the nerve to cut them a $750 check and wipe their hands, walked away. These people went in the freezing cold, sleeping on the ground in tents with their babies. Some of them had newborn babies sleeping on the ground in tents with snow on the ground. Can you imagine? And in 2 days, President Trump has these people being transferred to fully furnished apartments. In 2 days, our borders are being closed.
God bless them. 2 days. That's all it took.
Funding to foreign countries is paused. Millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of money is no longer being wasted on DEI policies.
But stick with the people of North Carolina. And if you've seen any of the videos, these people have literally their entire world was destroyed. I mean, it's horrible what happened out in LA. It really is. But by comparison, Dee Nimero put in there 73,000 houses, not just the houses, but all of the towns and everything, all the infrastructure, everything is gone. And nobody is here's $750 if you qualify. If you qualify.
Yeah, if you qualify, here's a check. That is such a massive slap in the face. Oh, and by the way, how long did it take anyone from the Harris Biden administration to get out there? It was more than a week. Maybe it was about a week.
And what'd they do?
Nothing. And that's it. And then we saw some of the other clips. We played some of those clips where you had helicopters coming in and disrupting all of the donations that were being given. And you have the FEMA saying you can't go in to go find or help people. Unbelievable. My comment, you're right. We'll stay with the North Carolinians. The people are in need. They were ignored by the previous administration. The current administration is days in. And even though Trump is probably, I don't know, he's got to be working 20 hours a day. I don't know when he sleeps. His staff has to be working 20 hours a day too, because they all got to keep up with him. And it's incredible how many things he's able to tackle in such a short amount of time. All of the key things that are critical for our country, and then still getting back to the North Carolinians and saying, yes, we heard you and we're going to take care of you.
If you want to know how disgraceful this is, the Amish came in on their own accord with their own money, with their own labor, and they built 200 tiny homes. And the Biden administration would not allow them to be occupied.
Oh, I didn't hear
Why?
that. That's crazy.
Yeah, they wouldn't let them occupy them because they weren't inspected. They weren't permitted. Are you kidding me? These people are living in tents. Are the tents, are they certified? Are they permitted? For crying out loud.
That's the difference between common sense leadership and whatever we have been living with for the last 4 years, and then for the last 12 years before that, maybe more actually.
And once again, the Amish come through, right? Remember?
Yeah.
So part of what happened with the Amish and why they got involved this time around is because there were farms back east that were taken out by USDA and some of the other groups. They just came in, shut them down. They said, that's it. You can't do business anymore. And the Amish said, you know what? We never vote, but we're going to this time because this is not right. And they stepped up and they voted. I remember seeing the carriages. Yeah. It's so beautiful. The carriages with Obama flags on it. I mean, sorry. I almost said the other one, the F Biden. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Yeah,
we talked about this, but like the Amish, you think they're disconnected from the world because they don't rely on any modern machinery, but yet they're pretty well informed, as it turns out. And yes, you're right. This time they came out to vote. Well, I am grateful that North Carolinians are getting help. I don't know if it's too late for the people in Maui. Not everyone who lives in Maui does well for themselves. And we were fortunate enough to have a few days out there recently. And we met some local folks and they just get by. They're not just because they live there. By the way, they live there also. They can't just get up and move. Like they don't have the means to just pack up, buy an expensive plane ticket, because for them it's very expensive, and then fly someplace else away from family. But I will tell you, John, many of the people that live there, they are not well off just because they live in, one of the most beautiful places on the planet. So hopefully we have some help for them as well.
That's right,
And
Alex. North Carolina received more help from surrounding states than Biden. That's 100% true.
Yeah.
So switching gears just a little bit, J6. And we have to be careful about this. J6 is what we say because we can still be removed from the censors over on the other channel. But the J6 is really, you're seeing a bunch of really neat stories coming out about these people being released. Donald Trump actually signed pardons for 1,500 J6ers and I believe 23 folks that had been protesting at abortion clinics. So, but J6, how about this? Investigation details suspect photos and seeking information pages. So what happened is on the FBI information page, they were asking for information for people that knew anything about or anyone or suspect photos. There was a picture of you. Do you recognize this person? All of that stuff was on their page. They were still, as of the 19th of January, looking for people that they could round up and arrest for J6. As of the 19th of January. Well, Trump comes into office and they scrubbed those pages. How about that?
Yeah, that should be illegal. By the way, the Bank of America is in the news. It's related to this because I don't know if you remember, and I have a little clip here. You tell me when you think this clip aired. Hold on a second if I can figure out how to do this. Tell me when you think this clip aired. Wait, is there a date on here to give this away? No. Okay, tell me when this clip aired.
Well, last week we told you that one of the largest, oldest banks in the country, Bank of America, founded by A.P. Giannini, is no longer really a bank. It's now a kind of intelligence agency spying on its customers without telling them, turning information over to the feds. We obtained proof that Bank of America scanned through its customers' private financial records back in January and turned the information over to federal investigators, once again, without telling its customers. The bank was looking for people who did, among other things, rented hotel rooms in Washington in January, people who made purchases in January in Washington, D.C., people who bought plane tickets. What's the point of this? Well, Bank of America, when we asked them, said they wouldn't comment on communications with law enforcement. That was not reassuring. And told us the bank has, quote, responsibilities under federal law to comply with police inquiries. That's not technically true. In fact, what they did may be illegal. But here's the interesting part. Since our story aired last week, Bank of America has not provided any further explanation for the spying we know they did on their own customers for political reasons. And as far as we know, despite the fact this is a big story, no politician in either party has bothered to ask Bank of America. So it's okay that one of America's largest financial institutions is now spying on people. And by the way, Bank of America may not be the only one. They're the only one we've caught so far.
Now, 2021, and look, what gives it away clearly is he's still at Fox News. This happened shortly after, and this was related directly to the J6 event. And now, why is Bank of America is in the news again? For other reasons, because they closed bank accounts and denied loans to people that were considered conservative. But I mean, that's pretty alarming.
So that's just where it starts. And by the way, President Trump talked about them at the World Economic Forum this week.
That's right.
That's how they got back in the news. And he basically called them out. You keep doing this, I will shut you down. And by the way, it would be easy to shut them down. All you have to do is bring to light all the unrealized debt that they have, or take that at about 30 seconds and they'd be go. I'm going to go through something. It's a bit of a read. There was a J6er by the name of Michael Shane Daughtry, and he was caught up in the January 6th. It's a bit of a read, so I apologize in advance. But his story should be a story of concern and of warning to never allow an administration like the last one ever near our government agencies again. And this is why you really need to vote. My name is Michael Shane Daughtry, and this is my January 6th story. I was a police officer with SWAT and sniper certifications, 20 plus years police experience, and over 1,000 hours of training. I'm also a master gunsmith with a federal firearms license and a gunsmithing business with over 10 years experience. On January 6, 2021, I traveled to Washington, D.C. with my wife, Tammy, to watch the Trump rally. As the rally was completing, the President of the United States told the crowd to go to the West Lawn and peacefully protest, which we did. As we arrived at the West Lawn, the police officers removed the barricades and waved us on to the West Lawn. I had video of this, but the FBI later raided my home and confiscated this video. I never went into the Capitol or damaged any property, but I did later observe people causing damage to the Capitol building, so I took a few pictures of those people and then returned to my motel room. We returned home the next morning. On January 16th, I was charged with trespassing on the West Lawn on the West Lawn on January 6th, even though the president had asked me to go there and the police had moved the barricades and waved me onto the lawn. The FBI contacted me around midnight and asked me to turn myself into the federal marshals at the federal courthouse in Macon, Georgia by 9 a.m. the next morning. I voluntarily turned myself into the federal marshals at the courthouse, and upon arrival, I was advised by federal marshals that Pelham Police Investigator Adam Lamb, Assistant Chief Rod Williams, and Chief McCormick had turned me into the FBI after finding out I was in D.C. In 2020, I was working as a police officer for the Pelham Police Department. I also owned a federal firearms gunsmithing company named Crazy Coon Armory. My business was named after my pet raccoon that was named Rocket, but we always just called him the Crazy Old Coon. On November 13th, 2020, Pelham Police Department investigator Adam Lamb had showed up to my home stating Police Chief McCormick had fired me for having a logo with a picture of a raccoon on it and the words Crazy Coon Armory, telling me that the logo had the word coon on it and that made it a racist logo. The police department said that they didn't know I had an outside business with that name, even though it was on my resume and my application for employment. I'd also worked on several of the Pelham police officers' weapons during, including pistols and full auto rifles at Crazy Coon Armory. Paperwork they asked me to sign stated I was being fired for being a racist. I refused to sign this separation letter. After I was fired, without even being given a chance to resign, I decided to expose the Pelham Police Department and its very corrupt chief for several of the crimes they had committed and were committing, including insurance fraud, illegal gambling, and cover-ups. I was posting this cover-up on my Facebook page and the chief and the city of Pelham's Facebook page every night, which made the police very angry. Go figure. And this was the reason for turning me into the FBI, so they could silence me. I'm only going to read a little bit more. You got to hear just how badly this guy was treated. After the marshals read me this affidavit, I was put into a jail cell for several hours before even being brought before a federal magistrate judge. Even though I was a law enforcement officer with no criminal record, I was placed in handcuffs, leg irons, and belly chains and advised not to speak. Even though I'm a certified law enforcement officer, have never been arrested or charged with any other crime in my life, and had gotten up before daylight and driven over 100 miles to turn myself in, the judge advised me that I was a flight risk and ordered me to wear a ankle monitor, be placed under house arrest and pretrial probation, forced to pay $25,000 bond, and was placed on a TAP 4 internet restriction saying I couldn't use any computers or internet. At that time, I was not allowed to make a plea and was not allowed to plea until over 18 months later. I was appointed a public defender without even being asked. I had very experienced federal attorney that was willing to take my case for free, but I was advised that I could not have an attorney of my choosing, that could only hire an attorney from the Washington, D.C. district, and that was certified to take cases in the federal courts. The attorney I could find meeting these requirements was over $100,000 plus $10,000 per hearing. Not acceptable. Upon release from jail, this is where I'll go after this. I will share this. Upon release from jail, late on January 16th, now, he was arrested on the 16th, or he turned himself in on the 16th. I returned home where my home and firearms business was immediately raided by federal agents that were waiting at my property. Numerous federal agents searched my home and property without a warrant, and with all my weapons and ammo were confiscated from my home and from my licensed firearm business. all for a crime that I would not lose my Second Amendment rights over. Again, if it was trespassing, it would have been a minor, what's the word, David? A minor misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor.
I was forced with threat of prison to give federal agents my email passwords and user information with written permission to access these accounts, my bank account passwords, my bank account numbers with written permission to access these accounts, my safe deposit box info with written permission to search this box, all my social media usernames and passwords with written permission to access these accounts. I was not allowed to change any password or information without permission from the federal government. I'm not allowed to take out any new lines of credit without prior government approval. I was forced to swear under oath that I did not have any money, firearms, or other items buried anywhere or have any storage units. I was forced to swear under oath that I did not have any photographs or videos hidden or buried. I was not allowed to possess any phone, camera, or recording device other than the one phone I was allowed by probation to have, and the FBI took that phone the next day and it kept it for weeks. I was forced with threat of prison to fill out a financial statement listing my checking account balances and passwords, my savings account balances and passwords, credit card balance, and account information and password, my vehicle loan information and value, my vehicle tag number, year, make, and model, my home loan information and home property value, the amount of cash on hand, the value of my clothes, the value of my home furnishings, name, addresses, birthdays, social security numbers of all my family members, names, phone numbers, and addresses of my friends, names, addresses of birthdays of any ex-wives and children. It goes on. It goes on, and it is just unbelievable how this guy's saga went. And it got to a point where not only did he have to go through this for the period of over 18 months, because he had an FFL that works with the ATF. The ATF controls your FFL. That's federal firearms license. That gives him the right to be a gunsmith and buy, sell, transfer weapons. Because the government came in, the FBI agents came in and took all those documents, everything, all the guns. And by the way, some of those guns weren't his. Some of those guns were customer guns that he was working on. So because the government came in and took all of those things and never returned them, even to this day, they have not returned them. Most likely they, quote, lost them. So the ATF starts coming after him and saying, you are going to lose your FFL license if you don't provide the following paperwork. Well, he couldn't provide the following paperwork, and he told them that he couldn't provide it. They took his license, his FFL license. Now there's his only way that he could make any money, even though during this time that he was under this cloud, he was not allowed to do any blacksmith or gunsmithing work. He was forced to plead to a felony, even though it was only a misdemeanor. They upped it to a felony. He was forced to plead to a felony, and if he didn't, all of these other things were going to come raining down on him. It just goes on and on and on. I will put a link to the thread. It is on X, but I'll put a link to the thread in the description of the show. I can try to put the link in the message too. I'll also put it in the show. But it's just disgusting what they did to him.
Yeah, as Alice says, I'm speechless too. I'm listening to you, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Talk about an absolute blatant violation of someone's constitutional rights. We're worried about people having constitutional rights after they've done heinous crimes to people. Here's a person who was guided to the West Lawn, I think I heard you say initially, guided there, and then later arrested for trespassing, and then his rights completely eviscerated. Every single person who is complicit in following whoever gave the order to do that should be held criminally accountable for it, because they know it's not legal.
Well, the point I want to make, that is one J6er out of 1,500. And he was not even officially charged. He never got to court for an official charging hearing for 18 months. He kept on asking what happened. Here's a great one. what happened to my right to a speedy trial? And this federal judge said that was put on hold during COVID.
Yeah.
Really?
Our Constitution, we suspended it.
So a federal judge can suspend the Constitution for
COVID,
a pandemic.
Yeah, we can go ahead and suspend the Constitution when it's convenient for us for these types of situations. You understand?
And this is important. You thought they were just putting you in your house to slow the spread, right? 15 days to slow the spread. Nope. They did it because they were going to control every aspect that they could. Now just think if Lady Terrible had won the election, the stuff would continue going on and on and on.
We're drunk. Yeah. Oh my God. I just the thought of more of the same, right? Because what it would do is say everything you've done, every heinous crime you've committed, every abomination against this country that you've committed, it's okay. We were okay. We want more of that. It would have just escalated. It would have accelerated. And who knows, bird flu, by now we'd have been locked down again, I'm sure. What's all of the other things that are happening that were supposed to happen to us that they tried to get started. The bird flu, I think, is the one that they thought would have the most legs. And of course it didn't. It's petered out, but unreal.
Yeah, it's scary. And again, I share that with you as like a huge warning for all of us to never allow them to do this crap again.
Yep. Hey, Bondi, get in there. Let's figure out who that judge is.
I want to share some good news, though. We talked about how there were 23, I think 23 was the number of people that were protesting abortion clinics, and they were arrested as well. Here's the release of one of them. I got to tell you, try not to cry, guys. That's all I'm going to say. Try not to cry.
Look at mama. Look at us. I got your jacket. Yeah. Woo! Good. Go.
I think Democrats lost a voter.
It don't matter if you're in the pit of hell. No. Somebody gonna smell good. No, girl, you know how you're gonna say. I can't hold on my baby. Oh my God. Goo. Have you missed your mommy? You miss your mommy? I miss you. I miss you so much. I miss you, Goo. Give me a kiss. Y'all. Oh my God. I'm home. I'm free. I'm free, y'all. I'm free. I'm really free.
All right. So she was arrested for silently praying outside of an abortion clinic. And this is like that one that we saw before where the police walked up to her and said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I am standing here in front of an abortion clinic. What are you doing? Are you praying?" "Yes, I am." They arrested her for praying outside of an abortion clinic.
I thought that kind of stuff only happened in the UK. Apparently it happens here too.
Unbelievable. I mean, it just,
right.
It's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. And there were 23 of them. I think she did a little over a year in prison for praying.
It's incredible. Talk about, I mean, this is a pure definition of a tyrannical government. You can't make this up. It's pure definition. A government that locks you up for praying. Like, I don't care if you're pro or against it, but could you imagine saying that somebody who held a belief and was praying, and I think silently too, there was a couple others that were silently praying. They weren't even shouting out in megaphones, right? It was a small group. You can't. That is absolutely protected by our First Amendment. It's incredibly egregious that these people were harassed to begin with, and then arrested, jailed. Talk about a complete violation of the rights. Someone else needs to go to jail for this.
And Donald Trump fired 17 inspectors general in the late night purge, punctuating the end of his first 5 days in office. 17 inspectors general.
Get out of here.
17 of them. But anyway, the interesting thing was there's already suit coming. One of the people that was fired is saying, you can't do that. Like, yeah, I can. I just did. But he says he's going to report to work tomorrow. So,
ooh, I don't know if that's a good idea.
I mean, I'm guessing that he probably is not going to have access to all the files that he wished that he still had access to. And he's going to, I think he wants to report to work to cover up a lot of the things that he was. The reason that he did this, because he said that the inspectors generals, these 17, have a long history of whitewashing reports and playing politics with complaints. So, yeah, I don't know. Go figure, right?
So you're out of here, and you can't go back and touch your files. No, you can't go back and log into the computers. You can't delete anything. You don't have access to anything. I think that's the right way to do it. You and I were talking about how fast things are moving. Just the number of besides 200 executive orders, the number of other executive actions that are occurring, including the one you just mentioned, return to the office, eliminating DEI, the DEI filter and costs from the government, just like one thing after another. And we were talking about that. It's not just that the changes are happening, but it's the speed, the momentum these changes are happening. And it's only been a week. If we keep this pace up, which I don't know how people can keep this pace up, but I hope they do. In a couple months from now, this entire experience, this government's going to look completely different. It's going to be a completely different experience.
It has to. It has to, because it is so broken. Let me share this one with you. We talked about this, and I'm still not sure what to think about it, but I'm going to play it because the boss said it, and I'd like for us to hear what he had to say. He's talking on the tarmac in LA. This is Donald Trump speaking to reporters.
Has anything bigger than that happened in the whole country ever? It looks like, I don't want to say what it looks like, but you know what I'm going to say. It looks like something hit it. And we won't talk about what hit it, but it is a bad, bad situation.
What?
What is he talking about?
He knows something that we don't. That's all I'm going to say. He generally...
Oh, interesting. Come on, Trump, tell us more. What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Okay, listen, there's a lot of high caliber, high quality people, as you know, coming to office. John Ratcliffe, new CIA director, says he's not going to fire anybody for political reasons, but I imagine there might be a few people who did some things wrong. And I just think let's remind ourselves, who is John Ratcliffe?
The approximately 50,000 text messages that I've seen with your personal beliefs like F Trump, stop Trump, impeach Trump, go ahead and confirm on the record that none of that occurred on an official FBI device or on official FBI time. Go ahead and do that.
Sir, no, they did. Many of them did.
Oh, they did. Okay, so
50,000, sir.
So really, no, I'll give you a chance at the end. So what you really meant to say was that when you said you never crossed that bright, inviolable line, what you meant to say was, except for 50,000 times, except for hundreds of times a day where I went back and forth expressing my personal opinions about effing Trump and stopping Trump and impeaching Trump, on official FBI phones on official FBI time. Other than that, you never cross that line. I'm sure there are 13,000 FBI agents out there that are beaming with pride at how clearly you've drawn that line. Agent Strucker, you're starting to understand why some folks out there don't believe a word you say, and why it's especially troubling that you, of all people, are at the center of the 3 highest profile investigations in recent times that involve President Trump, and that you were in charge of an investigation investigating, gathering evidence against Donald Trump, a subject that you hated, that you wanted to F him, to stop him, to impeach him. And do you see why that might call into question everything you've touched on all of those investigations? Chairman, I'm done with this witness and I yield back.
I'm done with him.
I'm done with this witness. That guy right there. I mean, that's the kind of leadership we need, right? Fearless with the facts. He brings the receipts. He lays it out, unafraid. I'm excited.
Here's a fun one. I apologize for language if there is any, but here's Rob Schneider. He's got a few things to say. As soon as we turn up the
lost because you tried to tell the American people that the economy was great when they couldn't afford to buy groceries. Even the Amish, who never voted. You lost because you tried to convince the American people that it was racisty to close the border and not let people come in illegally to rob and murder them. Lost because you lied about January 6th, calling it worse than Pearl Harbor or 9/11, instead of what January 6th really was, the FBI guided tour of the Capitol building. And free speech isn't a privilege like a driver's license. It's a God-given right guaranteed by our Constitution.
How about that?
I love it. Here's why you lost. Here's why you lost. Here's why you lost. You still don't know why you lost.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you're not going to learn from your mistakes either.
And the thing is that you're just exactly right. They're not going to. There are still people, and Mrs. John was telling me about a friend of hers that certainly doesn't watch the show. That was talking about how horrible it is that this president does these things, and how can anybody that says that they're a Christian support him? How can anybody that believes in God support him? It's one of those things you can't make it up. But
well, I would like to get a list of those. I know that she's got a list of all of the complaints, and I just think, John, we should just take one each show and just knock them out, and then maybe one day she'll tune in and she can hear the answer.
I have all those from last week's show. I could pull them up, but before we do that, I just want to say I am grateful that we have a president that doesn't mess around, because this clown lost his free ride.
Oh, so sad.
Restart.
Yep.
The elf. How are you?
Good to see you.
It's been a while.
Yes, indeed.
Since we went to dinner together.
Yes.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for spending some time.
That's my pleasure. It's my
This
pleasure.
must be
He lost his chauffeur. He lost his detail. Look at that. They 1, 2. Let's play this one out and see how many. 1, 2, 3. There's the driver 4. He's got at least 4 security.
How are you?
Good to see you.
It's been a while.
Because he knows.
Detail was $20,000 a day.
A day.
And Trump said, "You're done.
You're done. You've made enough money off the backs of the American people. What is it? Of Pfizer and of your I forget what they're called. Your patents. You've made a lot of money over the past 20, 30, 40 years. You can pay for your own security detail. And by the way, why do you need security detail? If everything you did was on the up and up and right, which you said yourself, you might have made a few things up. There's nothing to worry about. Yeah.
This one. $15 million saved in the. You know what?
Yeah.
And it's not just that. It's actually the visual too. And there were, I think, John Bolton that wonderful character. John Bolton lost his security detail too, and he's out there crying about it.
Yeah.
He said he's going to sue to get it back. It's like, sorry, pal, you don't get that. You know, past presidents get a lifetime security detail, but last I checked, you weren't a president. You weren't very good at being whatever it was that you were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, you don't get it. It's done. Good luck. You're on your own now. Wonder where Fauci goes. Because he can't just show up. He can't just show up at a Starbucks without his security details. So I wonder if he goes to a safer country, a country that would be safer for him.
Well, did you see that? I think it's Russia is saying that they want to extradite him. Yeah,
I saw the rumors. But we have no extradition treaty with Russia, so I don't see us.
Doesn't mean that. Well, it could be a bargaining chip.
You know what? That's a very good point. We gave a arms dealer, an international arms dealer. We traded him for
a washed-up basketball player.
She still had some more play in her. What was her name?
She's washed up. Brittany Griner. No,
Griner,
she's washed up. She's nothing.
Wow.
Nothing.
She was. Anyways, point is, we traded a guy who was in prison forever because he was trading arms to people that were killing others for Brittany Griner. That seemed like a fair trade. So I think you're right. We could trade Fauci. Now we should be able to reverse this, trade Fauci for whatever the reporters that are still in the gulag.
All right. Well, we talked about that one person that had a whole list, and there are a list. We'll go through 3 of them tonight, and we won't go into great detail on them. We'll just talk about them and move on. And then you had something you wanted to close out with that you talked about in private chat, so we can touch on that one as well. So, what are those of you who are fearful of Trump's presidency actually fearful of? I'm just curious. Here's a list of hers. I'm fearful for my LGBTQ plus friends due to the increase in unchecked hate that is basically sanctioned from Trump on down, and for the state of their marriages. If Trump's Supreme Court can overthrow Roe, they can easily overturn, yes, that one. I'm fearful, and we're going to read them all, and then we'll just come back to it. I'm fearful for the rule of law. It's already begun on day 2. They're convicted criminals who brutally battered Capitol Police were pardoned again. I am fearful for what we will live in mafia or authoritative country where no dissent will be tolerated. In that case, there will be no democracy. There is no democracy. No free press, no free speech, no free assembly, no free demonstrations allowed. Fear, intimidation, and actual physical harm to those who try. Let's go back to the first one. I have a picture of Donald Trump in the first administration holding a flag that says LGBTQ for Trump, and it's a rainbow flag. Donald Trump is holding it proudly on stage with a great big smile on his face. I also tell the story of when I was in Detroit, Michigan during the first election, and we heard a ruckus coming down the street, and we were downtown having dinner. I thought, oh no, this is the day after Donald Trump had been elected. Here comes the riots, and actually it was a parade, Gays for Trump, coming down the parade. Donald Trump also put the first openly gay member in a cabinet in the history of the United States. So I just want to say that first one is ridiculous. It is silly, and it's just not who Trump is.
And he nominated Scott Bessent, who, by the way, is not just openly gay, but he was during his confirmation hearing interview. His husband was there. He's got his 2 children. And I think this is the highest official office that an openly gay person's ever been appointed to. And during another interview, he was asked about it, and he's like, I don't think that's you're reading this all wrong. It's not about choosing me because of my gender, my preference. It's because I'm a smart guy, and I'm paraphrasing because he said it a little nicer about himself. I'm a smart guy, and I'm going to get stuff done the right way.
And he did. Rick Grenell is one of the best picks that he had, period. And by the way, didn't really talk about his orientation, doesn't care.
Crazy. Never didn't seem to be the most important thing.
I'm fearful for the rule of law. It's already begun on day 2, where convicted criminals who brutally battered police are pardoned. We talked about this on the last show. There were no people that were brutally battered. No police officers were brutally battered, and no police officers died as a result of any injuries at the Capitol. Now, should there have been people that were pepper spraying the cops? Heck no. Should there have been people breaking things? No, absolutely not. But this narrative that they've pushed, and people like this, listen, I know of this person. This person's not an idiot. However, they've bought into the narrative.
Right. Yeah. And also the pieces, the video that will never make the news ever, 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 will never make it to Facebook posts, will never make it to YouTube, but it's on whitehouse.gov if you're interested. But it's tens of thousands of hours of video, including people in uniform firing into the crowd, paintballs and shock grenades and other things deliberately to fire the crowd up.
Yep.
That video will never see the light of day.
No, I disagree with you. I think that video is going to see a lot of light here coming soon.
Okay, I could be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong on that.
Listen, there was a pipe bomb that was placed at the DNC on that day. And I do believe between the new Secret Service director as well as the new FBI director, you're going to hear about both of those things and the rest of the J6.
Good.
Let's talk about number 3, Dave.
Let's do it. I'm fearful that we will live in a mafia or authoritarian country where no dissent will be tolerated. Wait, hold on. I remember that period very well. No dissent was tolerated. You were canceled if you dissented. But I think this person is talking about the Trump administration. So I'll keep going. In that case, there will be no democracy, which there is not a democracy. No free press. We went through that. There was no free press. Even Zuckerberg said, I was forced. No free speech, no free assembly, no free demonstrations allowed. Fear, intimidation, and actual physical harm to those who try. This person clearly did not understand that that was not a summer of love. Those were riots. People got hurt. Businesses were destroyed. People's lives were ruined. In some cases, people died. That all happened.
Show me one case where the left had an assembly that was shut down. Even the riots didn't get shut down. The riots were encouraged.
Right. By the vice president and by the almost vice president on the other side.
And we just showed you a case. We just showed you a case where somebody was trying to pray in silence, and she was arrested. And there were, again, many others that had that same fate. And because all they wanted to do was pray quietly, they were praying to themselves. They were not, screaming and yelling at people that were walking inside the abortion clinics. Because, by the way, abortion clinics have been, they've been very well locked down. So you can't get within so many feet of them. You can't talk to the people going in. There's all kinds of restrictions on that. Yeah. But they don't do the same for other areas that would need such protection. But the idea that this person would say no free speech, no free assembly, no free demonstrations, and no free press, please, to David's point, did you watch the last 4 years?
Yeah, we just lived through all this. Do you remember cancel culture? First, let me tell you who was canceled. You don't want to take the shot, you're canceled. You speak out against the shot. If you ask a question about the shot, if you just curiously ask about how did this whole thing get started, canceled, fired, canceled. No free speech. Twitter rocked with, we saw that. We saw the information right away. Rocked with government officials who had desks at their offices, making sure that the correct information was getting out. Disinformation. We almost had a disinformation. I forget the word for it, the phrase for it. Do you remember that? It was going to happen, and then it got squished almost right away.
They were going to call it the Ministry of Truth.
That's right, the Ministry of Truth. We were going to have a Ministry of Truth. That's crazy, and that comes from the cabal on this far crazy extremist left.
And speaking of the Ministry of Truth, I just want to point this out. During Barack Obama's tenure, he signed into law giving the newspapers, giving news media, print and television, the legal right to lie to people. How on earth does a president think that that is good for them? I mean, in his case, it was good for him, but how would they think that that was good for America to pass a law that says you can lie to the people?
That's right.
Anyway, enough is enough. This stuff it's frustrating that it went that far, but there's more. I think we've got nine. We got 9 more. So
yeah, we're not a weekend yet. Things are moving in the right direction. Keep it going. It won't be perfect. There will be bumps along the way. Not everything is going to be great. I am still betting. I know that different people feel differently about this. I still think economically we're gonna stumble a little bit. We have to. I think we have to, but I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. But as we get through this first 5, 6, 7 months, 8 months, I think this country is going to be in a much better track.
Yeah, I just on a quick touch before you move on to the next one. Did you see any of his speech in Las Vegas last night?
I did not.
Boy, oh boy. If you walked away from that thinking that there's going to be an IRS and a tax code at the end of this thing,
I will go and watch it. I have not watched it.
He drops a lot of hints. He doesn't come right out and say it, but he does say we will not be taxing tips. But then there's other things that he says. There's a lot of hints in there. I would be very surprised if they don't push forward and get rid of the Fed. So enough said.
I hope he does. And by the way, no tax on tips. Amazing.
Huge.
No tax on Social Security. Great. I mean, we could spend time on that, but I'll just say we'll just acknowledge. Great. Hey, look, some of the exciting things that are coming up are also going to be really fascinating to watch. And this is going to be one of them, I think, because this is depending on what comes out, right? If it's a big fat nothing, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I don't think it's going to be a big fat nothing. I think there's going to be something that comes out, and this is going to create a lot of controversy and angst. But the declassification of records concerning the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, I don't know a lot about these people in detail. I know some people have studied these to the nth degree, and they can tell you about the lives of JFK, of Bobby Kennedy, and some of the stuff that I've learned recently. Like, these are not very nice people. I know that as president, well regarded by the masses, spoke genuinely about wanting peace. And in that statement, I think it's his statement, right? Ask what you can do for your country, not what your country can do for you, right? Some of these things that are just ingrained in our memory. But I got to tell you, like some of the stuff that I have been hearing about because now we're getting closer to the time where we're going to learn the details. It's actually not so pretty, which I found fascinating. I also found it really interesting that, and you probably know a lot more about this than I do, but James Files, aka James Sutton, actually confessed to being one of 3 shooters. And I thought, wait a minute, everyone's speculating there were 2 shooters and the driver was a shooter and this person and that. And he's like, well, let me tell you exactly what happened. And he goes detail by detail by detail. Now, what'll be interesting is to see when the information comes out, whose confession was true. What's the truth? And I'll tell you, I'm fascinated. I'm on the edge of my chair. I didn't care before as much. I was like, I care kind of, but not really, because I'm never going to know. Well, the records will never be released. We'll never know. Well, now we're going to know within a month. I think it's 3 weeks away. We're going to know potentially what happened.
President Trump signed the order. And
this is the order right here.
He almost immediately said that it would be about 45 days. So
yeah,
be patient. It's going to happen. And I'm hoping that it's not redacted beyond belief. That would really be a bummer. But I have also seen the tape. There's a video out there, and it's a very conclusive video. Very convincing is what I mean. Very convincing video that the driver actually turned around and shot JFK. And if you look, when Jackie reaches back to the back of the trunk lid to grab what many people say was the back of his skull, that doesn't happen from a a gunshot that comes to the back of the head. So at least that makes some sense.
That's right. That's right. There's a lot. Anyways, I bring it up because it's in our lifetime. We're gonna see something. So fascinating.
Guarantee that the team at Just Our Take will be all over it, and we're probably going to need some help from producer Marie on that one as well.
Yeah, producer Marie, we need your help with this one.
All right, I've got a follow up because, and then we'll probably end shortly after this one, David. Unless you have anything else, a follow up with our friend Catherine Herridge down in Gitmo. Remember, we think that all the roads lead to the YMCA, and so here is her latest report from Gitmo.
We were granted a rare interview with two survivors of the al-Qaeda attack on the USS Cole. 25 years ago, suicide bombers killed 17 sailors and injured nearly 40. So let me ask you, because it's almost 25 years, what can President Trump do for the families of the USS Cole?
I would think the biggest thing that would help right now is just to bring this trial about.
So you want to see it get to a trial this
trial
fall?
just to end it for the families here and all the people that have been waiting all this time. I mean, I was on board the ship. I was on board. This happened. I was maybe 20, not even 20 feet, 10 feet above where she was.
Is justice the death penalty? Is it life in prison?
I don't care if they make a deal. Justice is an end to this trial.
Abney, a retired master chief, and Lopez, who was a petty officer, sat in the same military court as the accused terrorist al-Nashiri. The Saudi national, who allegedly met with al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden, was arraigned 14 years ago.
This is the trial. Never ends.
Can't even get a trial.
The pre-trial that never ends. It just goes on, my friends. And that's what we're feeling. It's
just listening to you.
Pre-trial motions. Pre-trial motions.
It's like another wound. Is it like another wound?
Yes. In and of itself.
Yes.
Yes.
These 5 men
We're the only ones.
that have been alive longer than we have been waiting for justice. The rest of these guys have been deceased longer than they were alive. He was only 24. He was 22. Come on. This is cruel. Look at the next 19-year-old and say, end your life today, and then in 25 years, we might hold the person that did it to you accountable. Maybe. Maybe not.
I've been in these courts a little bit, but I'm always struck by sort of the strength and the depth of the defense team.
You know what's even more frustrating? Really, the fact that us American taxpayers pay for his defense.
Pay for everything. Right.
So another pie in the face. Here's your tax bill.
Right.
That's
right.
Stop it.
And then
You're better than this, America. Stop it.
The PTSD, I'm talking about almost 300 crew members who have seen body counts. I come down here for them. I come down here because somebody has to speak up for them.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That is heartbreaking. So hopefully we speed that along. We to move forward, we do have to close up some of the wounds of the past. And that's one of them. We have to sew that up so that we can move on. Otherwise, we're going to stay stuck in the present, stuck in the past. It's not good.
Sorry. Obviously I've got a soft spot in my heart for my shipmates, fellow sailors, and all who put on the uniform, and this stuff just tears me up. It really does. It's time to move. It's time to just get this thing done. And
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, we're going to hear more from her. I'm hopeful over the next weeks and probably months, but hopefully it's not more than that for 9/11 and for any of the other terrorists. And then I'm hopeful there's a whole new round of people that are there, and they're the ones who we have watched in plain sight commit crimes against our country over the past 4 years, or maybe it's longer than that. So let's see.
I'm hopeful. When you look at what's happened in this last week, it's hard to believe, honestly. I know we keep saying that it's hard to believe it's only been a week. And you look at everything that's happened so far, and he's just getting warmed up. So I know that there's a lot more to come, and I'm grateful and excited about what's coming. I'm with you. I think that we are going to have a bump in the economy. I think it's going to be painful. It's going to give a lot of fodder for the other side. I also think it's necessary. So I'm hoping I'm wrong. I've been wrong about some things before, and I'm glad to talk about it when I am. But just be prepared in case that does happen, and we'll move forward. Listen, Wednesday's show is going to be a lot of fun. I think I'm going to we'll not this coming Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, we're going to have Mrs. John back on. And she is going to talk about the birth tourism discussion that we talked about. So not this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday, we'll have her on to talk about birth tourism. She's a subject matter expert in it. That she lived in it for a number of at least 20 years as a nurse that lived in that area and had to deal with the birth tourism going on in the hospital that she worked in. We also have, oh man, there's so much more coming from the border. I know that this border thing is just going to get more and more exciting. There are people on the other side of the crying and upset. How could you possibly close this border out? It's not fair.
But not fair.
That's the ones making the news right now. So
that's right. And also, we do need to. We owe it to ourselves to get an update on the release of the prisoners from Hamas. I know we haven't talked about that, but that is underway. It's moving slowly. It's painfully slowly.
Yeah.
And we talked about this, the ratios of people that are in prison for actually committing crimes being released for people that were innocent hostages. But nonetheless, that's the plan right now. But we definitely need to give an update on that as well.
Outstanding. Listen, folks, thanks for being with us today. We appreciate you guys spending your time with us. We appreciate the input. We love the chat, by the way. Keep that up. It's always awesome to see you guys on the chat. We will be back here Wednesday night. Please tell your friends. And if you haven't hit that thumbs up, please do so now. Hit the thumbs up, hit the thumbs up, hit the thumbs up. That way. Well, there it is over there. You guys have a fantastic week ahead. I know it's going to be an awesome one. And we look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday.
All right. Good night, everybody.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we, the people, choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again? The sweet emotion raining all over me.
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
Making rock and roll.